Ready, set, go. All right. Hey, everybody. Hey, roboticists. Today's challenge is going to actually come through, or this week's challenge is all going to be done in TinkerCAD Circuits. A lot of us had all logged in just before we left. If you haven't done it already, I added the TinkerCAD join code here, and then just the standard TinkerCAD link will take you here as well. I've already clicked on it, and when you sign in with your Google account. That should be able to get you in just fine. If you need the nickname I gave you, in most cases it's just your first name with an extra, whatever your extra initial is. So in most cases you could probably guess, and if you can't, shoot me an email and I'll resolve that today. So once you get into TinkerCAD, it should look something like this, but it defaults to this area here where it says 3D Designs. And we want to use circuits. So I think every time you come in, you're going to have to click circuits to get to the section that you want it to be. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a new one. If you notice right now, these have terrible names. They're just these kind of or incredible and terrific names. But what happens is it just generates like gibberish words there. And these ones aren't going to work long term because you're going to be really confused in just what they do. Even though they give you a little thumbnail. So part of the grading for this is going to be for you to give them all good names, so do so, because you'll just get points for putting your name, a good name on it. I'm going to create a new one here, and I really recommend if you're doing this, especially on a Chromebook or an older computer like mine sort of is, that you try to limit your tabs so you don't have like 100 other things open at the same time. Because TinkerCAD is going to take up a lot of resources, and you might hear your fans come on and all that junk. So try to only have the one tab open. You'll probably get stuff done faster that way anyway. And then you can look over here on the right-hand side. They show you like some pre-discovered, like pre-configured ones. There's one in there that I kind of like, but before I go into there, you can see there's resistors, LED. We can go down and see potentiometer, push buttons, all our old friends that we saw in real life, and a little breadboard, all of this stuff in here. Little motor, the ultrasonic sensor, you know how I love that, and even a piezo in here. So we have a whole bunch of good stuff in here, just as your kind of basic components. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go down, click on this thing on the right, and I'm going to say, let's go to our Arduino one. I think I'm going to get my big old head out of the way here for a minute and make it so you can see all the options. So in here you have, let me see if I can kind of zoom that one in just a little. Here you can see there are ones like this one, like one that just has the breadboard built in it. And this one is a blank, but I really like this breadboard one a little bit better. So that's what I want to start with here. And hopefully I zoomed into the right thing here. If you click on it and try to drag it in, be patient, because a lot of times I've clicked it and then end up with like 3 of them, and then it's a pain to get rid of them. So here we go. You can use your zoom in, out, however you do that on your laptop or computer. You can zoom in and out that way. And that lets you kind of get where you need to go if you're trying to see something. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start off by just doing one that's going to be from like our pin 13 and set up an LED. And so let me go over to my components again, look for basic components, and here's an LED. So the LED I can drag in pretty quick, and it doesn't seem to be a big deal. Let me zoom into that. Oops, didn't pick the right color, so it went away. There we go. So I can give it any kind of color I want. So here I'm going to make it sort of like a traffic light to start off with. And I can, right from here, just go straight across on the short leg. Remember, the short leg's kind of our ground one. So we can use the short leg and make that just be a black wire. So it's going right to the ground for it. And then I could also go in and instead here use the resistor. And by pulling that little resistor in, it's a little bit hard to kind of put them maybe diagonally and stuff. There's ways to kind of move stuff around. We're going to leave the resistance as something really simple, but if you wanted to put in, you know, ohms in there, I don't care either way at the moment. It's not going to ruin the circuit. But let's be good about it. So this one can be on my positive side, and if I want to tie this one now into pin, say, 13, blink, there it is. So I can give that any color I want. I might make it red just because it's a red LED. But now I've got one LED there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it, stop. There we go. Accidentally dragged it. You can use these other buttons up here to go back and forward to undo and redo. And you can turn your little components down here too, but I think as you'll see sometimes like you end up creating like more work for yourself. So what I'm going to do next is I have this wired up, so I have one LED here. This one's grounded and coming back to our 5-volt and ground. What I want to do now is go to the code, and this is where you see this little button up here where we can actually go to the code for it. So let me click the code button, and what's kind of cool about the code button is that it has, let me click off this for a minute, it has here a whole bunch of blocks that you can kind of program with. Again, I got my big old head in the way. But just with the code that we have here with these blocks, I can look at it and it says it's set to the built-in LED. That built-in LED is actually pin 13 when you're looking at these. So if I hit and run the simulation, click, there we go. So hit and run the simulation, you can see it like plugs it in. And here, if you zoom in on this red one, you should be able to see that it's all blinky and happy. Now it's just doing it kind of not super, super bright, and I think that's because of the way we have a pretty big, let's do like 3, yeah. So you can see it's actually, brightness is different based on what your resistance is. So 330 is what the ohm, not kilo ohm, but ohm, is what we had in the SparkFun kits. But what we're going to do here now, back over to my code, is I'm going to come back to the code for a second and say, well, you know what if I want to do one that isn't that one? Let me pick maybe a pin, and I'll set a particular pin to high. Which pin can I set to high here? Well, look, I can go through, and all my options are the ones that you're used to seeing. I've got 0 through 13 here, and then A0 through A5. If I say pin 13, that's actually the same as saying my built-in pin. Now, that built-in one, I'm not wild about, because guess what? Like, not every Arduino you run into is going to have that same 13, won't be the same pin. So here, if I run the same code now, you can see this one is turning on and blinking. And if I wanted to make, a different pin light up and do the same sequence, I could do that too. So let me maybe duplicate this block. I'll put it all together, but if I wanted to make it be pin 12, oops, guess I don't really want these guys here yet, right? And you can find the other pieces that go in here, input, your notation, you can do your control. This is where you can do your loops and repeats. I'm going to show you one more thing before I kind of let you go on your own. But one of the things here that's kind of key is like if I'm doing them all on 12 and I make sure I'm on 12. It's going to take a little while to get used to clicking these. If you click on the wire itself first, then you can move the piece, and then you can move like the end piece. If you don't click on the wire first, then when you try to drag the end, it'll think you're trying to draw a new wire, and it gets frustrating quickly. So be patient. Remember to click on the wire first, or whatever it is, object is you're trying to move first, and then do the second part. So here, if I wanted to make this same LED go on 12, I can, and I'm just using those, let me get rid of this one. Bye-bye. So, I kind of overdid it, didn't I? 3, 2, 1, and start simulation. So here's an example where I'm doing it just to pin 12. So I could do this for all the other pins. I've got lots of pins there that can go and run this all with. But say you're somebody that's like super into the Cody bit and you're not feeling the love here with this kind of block code stuff. I mean, it's nice for certain things, but at the same time, it's not what you're familiar with. So if you want to, what you can do is you can click up here. You can change your view. Now let me click off of this real quick. So a couple other quick ones here while we're right here is that we have this option for the serial monitor down at the bottom. So if you're trying to track something and figure that out, let me get my zoom back here, and see. Okay, so let's see, under my code, I'm missing where I think this other, oh, sorry, stop the simulation. That's one of the other things that I often keep forgetting when I do this, is that you need to hit the stop button for the simulation. If you don't stop it, if you're running it, you really can't move anything, you can't do anything on there. It may let you show things, but it's not going to do what you think it should. So make sure the simulation's stopped. And then you have this option here. You have this option to say blocks, and text. This middle one I think is really kind of useful. Why? Because look, here's the code that we've been using all along. So here we're defining the pin as an output. It's already kind of done that for you when we picked this. And then it said in here the digital write to high to turn it on. Here it's not going to go off because I'm not setting it to low. Now I set it to low, and you'll notice that my code all updated really, really nicely. If I wanted to change my time here, I could change it to 0.5 and give myself 500 milliseconds for my wait time. So even if you did something in here and we end up going back and you want to reuse it, you can easily just snag the code from here and then do it. So that's what makes this really kind of amazingly similar to the stuff we were doing before. So here we have it kind of turning on and off, and it's all happy. So your challenge here is to make it so that you go through and fill up most of this board here with LEDs. And when you do that and get them kind of going all the way across, like pick different colors and make it pulse so you can change the timing. You know, have a little fun with it, but make it be. Show me that you can wire these up and do the coding, even if it's the block coding. And then when you're done, make sure you give it a better name than this. You know, LED light show. We'll call it. I always give it a number because I always assume I'm going to have another version. So I do in the light show, and then when you're done, you actually have to. I'd stop it, and then I'd click the share button. And when you share it, make sure you click here. It says IM or email. You're actually not going to do either of those. You're going to copy the link. You copy that link, and now you're going to go back to the classroom and paste it into the assignment. All right? So if you have any questions on that one, or you're having trouble getting into the TinkerCAD Classroom one to join, or any of the other stuff there, please let me know. Shoot me an email. I'll be around all day and this week. So I hope that works. So everybody wash your hands, cover your coughs and sneezes, and of course, don't do the drip.